If you are struggling with procrastination and you feel as though you're always putting things off and you're ready to overcome it, you're going to love this podcast. In this podcast, I'm going to share with you the 3 fundamental obstacles in your subconscious mind that is preventing you from taking the action that you want. If you have tried many strategies and you've tried therapy and you've tried all of these different things and nothing has worked, this podcast is going to tell you why. And when you figure out these 3 things, you're going to know exactly what to do. If you are ready to transform your behaviors and actually take the action that you want, create massive results in your life, you're going to love this podcast. Let's dive into this. Hey, and welcome to this week's episode of the podcast, folk. In this episode, it is actually such an important lesson that I share with you. It is like something that you and we all struggle with this one thing, and it doesn't matter how successful you are. It doesn't matter who you are. My clients, my students who are leaders, who are, organizational leaders of their families, people who are raising, kids by themselves, homeschooling parents, like doctors, lawyers, you name it. These people, all of them have one thing in common. We, as a human race, we get caught in the struggle of action or taking action, or the kind of behaviors that we want to avoid. And these behaviors, they're plaguing us and they're creating havoc for us in our lives. And very often we give up and we become hopeless, and we actually start to think that we don't have a way out. And there is a way out. I want to, dissect what behavior, and specifically the behavior of procrastination, is in this episode. And I'm going to give you 3 things that are going to help you to, overcome that, or at least begin on the road to overcoming that, and begin on the road to change and sustainable change. What we want is that we want to create changes that actually last, and that requires intentionality. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, innamal a'malu binniyat. Indeed, actions are determined by intentions. And so in this episode, we're going to dive into the subconscious. And this is not a term that I actually use in my practice. I mean, I train my students on the science of the Nafs psychology and behavioral change framework. And of course, what is meant and what I mean by subconscious is something that I'm going to define for you in this. But I want you to think about, what is it that you hear in this episode that you could actually take and use it in your day-to-day life. This is not meant to be theoretical. Of course, I'm going to dive into what it is and how it works, and how Allah tells us about our relationship with our behavior, because it is a relationship. The connection between your behaviors and you is the intention. The intentions, they actually drive all the behaviors. And so we want to figure out, why do we procrastinate? Why do we put things off? Why are we in avoidance behaviors? Because this is often what's happening when people procrastinate. And if you find yourself, being a high performer, or someone who is, diligent in your work, or raising your family, or doing whatever you do, but you find in one area of your life like you're struggling, then this is going to be really, really helpful, because one of these 3 things, or maybe multiple, maybe 2 or 3, maybe all of them, you struggle with. So as we go through this, instead of blaming yourself and telling yourself, oh yeah, I'm doing that, and giving yourself a hard time, what I suggest you do is that you take a step back and be a little bit offhand, or a little bit clinical. Like, just look at it as though it is something that is happening, but you can do something about it if you understand this. And understanding this helps you to actually take the leap of transforming your behaviors, transforming your, the actions that you want to create in your life. You're going to be able to do it if you can, turn around 1 or 2 or even 3 of these things, if you are doing all of them. So first of all, the question you got to ask yourself is like, in what area of your life are you struggling, and in what area of your life are you not struggling? Because much of the time when I am talking to my students, when I'm training the coaches, and we dive into therapy, we dive into growth and development, and when we're doing all of this, what comes up over and over again is that what most people term as the subconscious is actually driving all your behaviors. And I want to give you like a real simple definition of what I consider the subconscious, like, what we consider in Islam, like the Quran Sunnah, essentially. And essentially what we're talking about when we talk about the subconscious is what's happening in your mind that you're not presently aware of, like in the moment. So you may be aware of this throughout your day, but in the moment when it's actually impacting you, you're not able to link between what's happening in your mind and what you're doing, as in your actions, your behaviors. And so you may explode in anger, or you may just shrivel up in fear because of, something that's happening in your mind. And what you will do is that you will attribute it to something that is happening in your environment. Maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your job, maybe it's none of the physical things that you can attribute it to, but it's your future. And when you think about your future, it makes you fearful, it makes you anxious. And when you get fearful and anxious, you become edgy. And when you become edgy, you start freaking out on the people around you. Like, this is very normal. Sometimes we don't do the freak out, and the freak out comes in behavior. And the behavior is avoidance behavior. And here's the thing. In the Quranic science of the Nafs, like, we train on transformation of behavior. And the way to transform your behavior is that you first got to understand that you can't have a psychology without the creator, right? Like, psychology itself, like your mind and your stability, your mental and emotional stability, is very much linked to your connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that doesn't mean that, if you are praying 5 times a day and you are doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing, or that they tell you should be doing, that you're not going to have a mental struggle. No, that doesn't mean that at all. That doesn't mean that you're not going to procrastinate, because many scholars and people of knowledge who are, who immerse themselves in knowledge of the deen for a lifetime, they get caught in procrastination, putting things off. Like, what drives that? That's psychology. So you got to understand the relationship between your mind and Allah is key in solving the problem. But this is for another podcast. So I'm going to dive into that in a future podcast. But for now, I want to dive into the actual behavioral part of this. If you think about, like, I'll use myself as the example. Funny enough, like, I'm doing these podcasts now, and as you can see, I'm doing a video podcast, and I've been doing a podcast for a while, sharing this knowledge for a while, but it's been an audio podcast. I have not done a video podcast. So there's for a long time, I gave myself a hard time, why are you procrastinating this? You should be doing this, or you want to do this, and the should be doing this or want to be doing this isn't sufficient, because as much as I wanted to do it, like, I wasn't doing it. And there is, one of the three obstacles to overcoming procrastination or behavioral change, like one of these 3 things I was struggling with. And as I'm struggling with it, it becomes my obstacle. And this is why I say it's in the subconscious, because it's like your mind is not presently aware of it. Like, I'm not aware of the fact that this is the thing that's driving my behavior in the moment, because I'm not focused on it. I'm so focused on everything else. And sometimes, like, what that would do, and the fruits of my obstacle, my mental obstacle, and that's a better way to look at it. The fruits of my mental obstacle was that I didn't do the video podcast, even though I said I would do it, even though, I started a YouTube channel like years ago. I just did not want to do it. And I have not worked on my YouTube channel. I haven't actively done any of that stuff and put out content on YouTube for a while. And even though I'm doing video, like when I'm doing these public trainings, like, these are free public trainings and I'm doing them on a regular basis, but those videos are up for a while and then they go down. They're not up permanently. As for the podcast, this is something that I'm doing to share this knowledge, the science of the nafs, and helping my audience and, the ummah, my community, to change and to grow and to actually create the lives that they want. But sometimes we all know, like, we're very much engaged, like many of us, like, we have different learning styles. One of the learning styles is the visual, and visual is super helpful. Like, not all of us are, not all of us love the podcast, like the audio experience. Like, we want the visual experience. So if you are listening to this on Apple or Spotify, you can go over to YouTube and you will find this on my channel. Just do a search for Abdul Shahid, the Muslim life coach, and you will find it there. But this is the thing, like, I have not put these videos out because in my mind I was procrastinating. And so to understand my own behavior, like, really, it comes back down to one of these three things. And I'll tell you the one that actually prevented me from doing it. And it's actually the third one, and I'll go straight to that. So the third one is, this is the obstacle that most people face. It's the obstacle of emotion. Like, the obstacle of emotions are driving you, right? Emotions are driving you. Like, my emotion driving me with, coming out on video was it was really the emotion of fear, and the emotion of being seen. Like, I mean, that's a thought, really, but being seen is not something I wanted to do. Like, I want to do the work, I want to help the people, I want to serve Allah by doing this work, but I don't want to be, public. And that thought there drove that behavior. And what's happening is that I have the emotion of fear, or the emotion of like I want to describe it as a dull emotion that you feel, and it actually makes you feel like turning away. And most people who procrastinate a lot or put things off. And I want to say, look, I'm telling you this, even though I'm prolific in producing work. Like, I'm always doing work, I'm always sharing, I'm always doing it in one form or another. But video was one of the things I wanted to do, and I wasn't doing it. Why wasn't I doing it? Because I didn't want to be in the public space. And that was a belief that was driving all of that. And as a result, because I have that, and I'm not really consciously focused on that or consciously thinking about that, then what's happening is that when I come to do the work, I'm not doing it. And instead, what I'm doing is that I'm running away from that emotion, because the emotion is like, this awful dread feeling. And I don't want to do it. And here, look, I'm sat here recording this, and I don't feel any of that. It's because I've used the very tools that I use to help my clients, to help myself, because the minute you become aware of it, you can change it. So the first thing is emotion, or this is number 3, but emotion is one of the most powerful drivers of behavior. And if you are putting things off, then you are trying to avoid an emotion. Emotion is the big culprit. It is emotions will make you or break you. And in the Quranic science of the nafs, what we learn is that behavioral change happens with the usage or leveraging your emotions. And this is something that I do this is something that I teach my coaches and therapists as I train them. And if you are a leader of an organization, you're a leader of a family, you need this science to actually help empower yourself to become the person that you can be. It's not about achievement. It's not about what you've achieved already, but it's about becoming the optimum human being. This is the state of ihsan that we talk about. I mentioned this in the last podcast, and I am going to do like one podcast dedicated to this anyway, going forward, inshallah. But for now, the 3 obstacles that actually prevents us from taking action, from doing the things that we want, like one of the number 1 obstacles, and it was my number 3, but because of my example, I'm saying that this is the thing that drove me, and my guess is that it drives you as well. So ask yourself the question, what's the emotion you're trying to avoid? Because if you are procrastinating, if you are putting things off, and sometimes we don't term it procrastination because that's a negative term. And when we think about procrastination as a negative term, then what we want to do is we want to avoid it. And we don't want to give ourselves and I'm suggesting don't call yourself a procrastinator. That's actually one of the problems in, social media world or society right now. Like there's this labeling that happens that actually makes us believe that that's who we are. I am not a procrastinator. I am a prolific creator. I'm always creating, work and content and stuff to help my clients, my students, you. And this is an example of it. So labeling yourself doesn't actually help you. So anyway, getting back to this, emotion is the driver. So emotion's one of the drivers. It's one of the blocks. It's one of the obstacles that stands in the way of taking action. What's the other one? We have two more that for sure, like it will be impacting some of you. Like for sure, like, these are things that I know I'm always helping my students with. I'm always helping my clients to overcome their behavioral challenges, to change their behaviors. And so, look, addiction, I'm not going to talk about addiction today, but addiction is a behavior. It is one of those things that happen, it's a behavioral pattern driven by the mind. And when you are able to overcome the obstacles of the mind, you're able to overcome the behaviors. And if addiction is one of those, then you can do the same. So the first one that I was going to mention, and this is obviously number 2 now, the struggle with taking the right action, right? The struggle with taking the right action. We get so consumed with the idea that there is a right action to take. And the minute you get into your head about, I need to be taking the right action, then what happens is that it stops you from actually doing anything. Like, because you get into this state of indecision, and it's this being stuck between multiple things, and you asking yourself the question, like, what's the right thing? And really what we're trying to do is we're trying to prevent ourselves from failing. So which is the best option to get the results that I want? And we do this to the detriment of our own goals and our own progress. And most of the time when you do this and you keep on doing this, then you get stuck in this mental stalemate, and you're not moving forward, you're not moving backwards. And what's happening is that the action that you want to take that's going to produce those results, you don't take any because you can't decide on what it is. So I want to define for you again, I want to redefine for you this subconscious. The mind, your mind is, you've got these hidden thoughts and these beliefs in your mind, right? And I'm talking about thoughts and beliefs interchangeably. So like, take it as you will, right? But you've got these hidden thoughts and beliefs in your mind. And the fact that it's in plain sight some of the time, you could catch it, right? But most of the time what we do is that we don't catch it. We're not able to see it. And it's because you're so focused on all the options. When there's too many options, you pick none, right? And this is just, this is simple psychology. But when there's too many options, you pick none because it's like decision fatigue. And this happens a lot. Like my kids going studying for their exams, and they work hard. They put a lot of effort in, and sometimes what's driving the work and how much work we do. And this for you burnout people, for you people who overdo it, overwork and get to a state of burnout, you will understand this. Like, when there's so many options and there's so many things and you don't want to fail in any of them, then what we do is that we try and do all of them. And we try and juggle as many. And because you're a hard worker, because you're smart and you can move forward, then what you try and do is you try and do all of them. And you try and one of the reasons for this is that we're looking at all the experts. Everyone's an expert in today's day, everyone's an expert. And so you're looking at all the experts and all their opinions. And what happens is that you get overwhelmed by the number of opinions and the number of things that you could be doing. And that when that overwhelms you, it prevents you from actually making a decision, picking one thing and, going all in, diving in and making it happen. And this is something that stops us from, moving forward in our lives. So if you are doing that, like the simple fix, the simple hack I'm going to give you now, but we're talking about like what can you do immediately upon hearing this. You could just make a decision. You could just make a decision on one of those things, the one that seemed most probable, and just run with it. Go all in just for a little while until you start getting results. When we get into this thing about shall I do this, shall I do that, shall I take this, and you start taking the opinions of all of the quote unquote experts, because everyone's an expert, right? When you start doing that, then you don't take action in your life. And then everyone else is an expert and you are a generalist because you just take on everyone's opinion. And so you want to stop doing that. And when you recognize you're doing that, just pull back. Don't give yourself a hard time and just recognize that you're doing it. The recognition is key to changing it all. Okay, so the final thing that you're going to find is the obstacle is that, when they talk about subconscious, what that implies is that there's something already in your mind that you just can't see, right? So when we're talking about subconscious, there is something already in your mind. You're just unable to see it, right? So the answer, the solution is in what I said just there. You just don't know what's there, so you've just got to look to see what's there. But here's the problem with trying to see that. For us, like I know myself, like I love working, I love doing what I do, and I want to go 100 miles an hour. I want to do everything, and I have all these ideas, and I want to make it all come to fruition. But one of the problems with that is that we go so fast in our lives, we take on everything, we're juggling so many things that the things that are the most important, we're not focusing in on those things. And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast. This is one of the reasons why I'm doing this video podcast, because I want to share with my community, the Ummah, right? That this is a possibility of real change. Like you can use this process that I'm going to be sharing with you in this podcast, in all of the trainings that I do. You can come and get trained, get professionally certified. You can do whatever. You can follow, just click subscribe on this and follow this channel and do everything I teach you. And you can transform your life. You're the power that can transform your life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the ability to do that. And what we're using is a divine framework. What's a divine framework? Why is it divine? Because it is the Quranic science of the Nafs, meaning that everything we do is wisdom extracted from the Quran and Sunnah, right? And when we use that, what's going to happen is that you're going to get to change all of it. So the first thing is, if you have something in your mind that's preventing you, and you just don't know what it is, like one of the ways that I train my students to actually figure this out is a process we call the mind dump. And you may have heard similar terms like brain dump, mind dump, there are lots of terms that refer to, and most people, when I say this, they think I'm talking about journaling. We don't journal. This is an actual process, with psychology, the Quranic psychology as its framework, so that we're able to figure out exactly what's causing the problems and what's causing the results in our lives. And I want to give you just one step from that now, so that you can get started in helping yourself, right? Here's the first step you can take, so that you can recognize and see what's in your mind, so that you can do something about it. And the seeing of that thing in your mind, like, the Prophet ﷺ said, so don't underestimate this. The Prophet ﷺ said, Ala wa inna fil jasadi mudghatan. There's a piece of flesh in the body. If you make it sound, you're going to make it all sound. Meaning that your heart, and we're talking about the heart, right? If your heart is good, this is your mind, right? Understand this. This is your mind. This is revelation, right? So the thing is, if you change this, if you recognize what's in it, you're able to change your behaviors. You're able to change, and take the action that you want to take. You're able to create the results in your life that you want. This is powerful, folk. Like, I love sharing this stuff. I love talking about it. And most importantly, I know that this is the bridge between where you are and the results that you want in your life. So the thing is, like, when you're able to see what's in your mind and you're able to change it, you're going to be able to create the results that you want in your life, inshallah. So here's the thing. The first step that you do is that you do this process like this is, you'll feel like you're journaling, but you're not journaling. I don't want you to journal. What I want you to do is just empty your mind into your notes app on your phone or on a piece of paper in your diary or whatever you've got, and just look at what you've emptied. And literally, I want you to just empty it and then look at what's on there without giving yourself a hard time, without being disgusted at yourself or being disgusted at other people, without getting emotional. Just look at it for a second. And if you need to go away and come back, then go away and come back to it later. But look at it and see what sentence or what words are in there that actually make you feel apprehensive or make you want to withdraw, and just underline it. When you do that, what's going to happen is that you're going to realize that there is something in your mind there, and you're going to be able to highlight it. You're going to be able to pick out at least something that helps you, and you're going to know that it's happening from there because it's making you feel this apprehension or this anxiety, or it's making you feel something. And what that's going to do is that this mind of yours, this actual looking at your mind, is going to help you to really see how powerful you are as a human being. This is driving, your mind is driving your life. And when you can see what's happening here, then you can start to change what's happening. And this is not journaling, folks. I don't want you to sit there journaling. Then you're just deliberately creating stuff, and which may be useful in another context. But in the context of changing behavior, it is not going to help you, right? This process is real simple. Just start with this, and what it will do is that it will open your mind to what's already there. And when you get to see what's already there, that's like half the problem solved. Because most of us, we can't see what the problem is. And when we can't see what the problem is, we're unable to do nothing, unable to do anything about anything. And when that happens, we don't get to control our behaviors. And what I'm suggesting you do is that you get to control your behaviors. And to control your behaviors, you've got to choose that. And choosing it means that you're going to love your life. You're going to get to create your life by choice. You're going to get to actually change your behaviors by choice. You get to see what's happening. These three things are fundamental. They're driving your behaviors. So if you are procrastinating, if you're putting stuff off, if you're not doing the most important stuff that you consider most important, then my guess is it's going to be one of these three things. And it's not, it may be one of them, it may be all of them. But here's the thing, don't give yourself a hard time. Just back down and just see what's happening and take it from there. Like, it is a process. It is not a quick fix. If you're looking for a quick fix, you are not going to get a quick fix in the real world, because what we're dealing with here is we're dealing with your mind and your behaviors. Like, you can change it all. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us. Allah tells us categorically, He will change your condition when you change your condition. And this is the power that you have when you utilize this science to change your life. I know that sounds like I want to slow down. I want it to resonate with you. I want it to really hit home. And I want you to love it, because it will make your life amazing. Like, this is one of the most, this is one of the, foundational pillars of my life. And, I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me with it. I know that my students and all of the people that have gone through this training and what they do out there in the world, they are changing lives. Like, this is a powerful tool. It's going to be a powerful tool because it's based on revelation. And when you use that revelation to, unadulterated, without mixing it up with everything else, when you use it, you get the results that you want. If you're avoiding doing the things that you want to do so that you can create the life that you want, then you may be avoiding your emotions. You may be running away from your emotions. You may be unaware of what's in your heart, what's driving it. You may be someone who is just ready to make the changes happen. And if you're ready to make the changes happen, you should join us. Join us in this journey and take what you're learning, apply it, and transform your life. I'm running a free training on the 11th of June. This is a 5-day life coach training with the Quranic Science of the Nafs. Join us, use it, apply it, transform your life, begin a journey of a lifetime. This is going to be the best year of your life. Like, this is certainly going to be the best year of my life. It already is. And inshallah, we're going to have an amazing time. And I want to leave you on that. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum. Hey guys, thanks for listening in on this podcast. If you are ready to up-level your mind, emotions, and relationships using a Quranic solution, you're going to love this podcast and what we are going to be sharing over the coming episodes. This is the most fundamental training that you're going to go through in your life. You can use it to transform your life, your mental and emotional health, your relationships, how you parent, how you are in your marriage, and truly your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you are loving this and you want more of it, click subscribe. Or if you want one of our free trainings, go to themuslimlifecoach.org and sign up for the free training. You're going to love it. I'll see you on the inside. Jazakumullah khair.